everybody, it's Brittany, and in this video today I'm going to be showing you how to make a quick salve. The reason why I'm making this salve today is because my 1-year-old has a gigantic bruise on his thigh. So yesterday he was playing on a step ladder with his daddy and his little leg got stuck in between the bottom step and the top step and he tried to stand up. I want to make something that will try to help heal that as quickly as possible. Treating underneath of the skin is a little bit different, but I'm going to try with whatever I have in my apothecary, which I will show you in just a moment. And we are going to try to make something that will help heal this bruise faster. So ideally, you would measure the oil, measure the wax, measure the herbs. You want to do all of these things if you're going to want to sell it. This is me just whipping up a quick salve to try to help his little leg in the immediate term, right? So I have all the things together that I'm going to use. I'm going to be using almond oil for the herbs extraction, beeswax that I rendered this past year from Andy's bees. So Andy had a hive that died, and I basically took all the wax, I rendered it down, cleaned it out, and put it in some molds. So here's a thin one because it didn't quite fill up the mold, so I think this one will work pretty well. I have a glass container that I'm going to be putting the salve into. I'm actually going to be using just a regular household strainer instead of cheesecloth. You can do cheesecloth or a strainer. And then I have my dedicated wax spoon. So if you deal with beeswax, whatever you do not put it in your everyday cookware because it will not come out. I am putting it in my glass, which is fine. I can heat that, scorch it, and get the wax out okay. But this spoon here is the only spoon I use for wax. I just have a glass measuring bowl that I'll be mixing all of the oil and wax into. I have my giant stock pot that I love and use all the time. So that will not be getting any wax in there. That's my everyday cookware. So I'm going to use this as a double boiler inside of there. And then because frankincense is really good for the skin, this is actually frankincense Freriana. That's the one that's really good for the skin. You have, I think, 4 different types of frankincense. This one is a really good one to use. Now let's go to my apothecary and I will show you the herbs that I'm going to pick out. So currently my apothecary is somewhat of a disaster. I apologize. I have a 1-year-old, so all of the jars on the bottom 2 shelves are crammed up here at the top. So normally I have my tinctures and anything that's brewing, like right here, I've got turmeric tincture that's going. I've got these things up here. Anything that I don't want our son to get into, I will put them up here. But we're going to be using today, we're going to be using comfrey. This is really good for the skin. We're going to do some St. John's wort, actually. This is really good for the vascular system under the skin. Arco. Oh, meadowsweet. We're using meadowsweet. Oh, you know, I think I'm going to add a little bit of calendula as well. Yes, I think these will work. Here's my, oh yeah, here's the calendula tincture. Look how beautiful yellow that is. Beautiful golden tincture. Yes, I think that's all. Let's go back. When you have a regular double boiler, you don't have to add all that much water because the steam and the heat's going to come up. But since I'm doing it like this, I'm just going to fill it up to where I know that it's actually going to reach. Okay, so unfortunately, this particular recipe would be amazing with arnica in it. However, the arnica that is needed for like high quality medicinal skin purposes, that is about $320 a pound. We are actually going to be growing arnica this coming season, so I'm very excited to be able to offer that next year. Ideally, we would put arnica in this, but we just don't have any, so we're going with whatever I have available in the apothecary today. I'm going to go ahead and turn this on. I'm going to put my glass in here to melt the oil, right? And you know, a lot of people don't want to put heat on their herbs, and I totally understand that. I agree with that method. I would rather not have to apply heat like this, but you know, that's where I am right now, right? I would rather have the medicinal purposes extracted this way rather than not have them at all. Eventually, I will start some oil infused or herb infused oils. This way is the alternative way. I know it's not the most ideal, but that's kind of all I have right now. So that's what we're gonna do. Now, I don't suggest using like coconut oil and beeswax just because they can both be really firm at room temperature. You want something that's liquid at room temperature and also a wax so that you can create a softer wax, a more pliable wax that's not going to melt, but it's also not going to, you don't have to shave it off like you would beeswax. And again, this is not a tutorial on how to do ratios and all of that. There is a lot of information out there. I'll probably do a video on that eventually on how to properly do this. I'm just showing you how I whip up a salve together in my home. So I'm gonna go ahead and add the almond oil. And since I'm adding quite a few herbs, I'm gonna add probably a quarter, maybe a half a cup of almond oil in there. And then I'm gonna add the comfrey. Add the meadowsweet. This is one of my favorite herbs, actually. It's a diaphoretic. It makes you sweat, but it's really good. Calendula. The St. John's wort. I'm going to do probably more St. John's wort because of its properties with the vascular system. I'm going to mix it up. Make sure everything is, actually I think I'm going to have to add more almond oil. I'm going to make sure it's totally submersed in there. And some of the oil is going to stay behind on the leaves, so I can add just a little bit more than I think I would need. Add more. All right, so this is going to be steeping in here. I'm going to let it steep for, it's a lot of water in there. So I'm going to let it steep for about 30 minutes. Once it gets to boiling, I will turn it down to simmer. I'm gonna let this do its thing for a little while and we'll be back. All right guys, it's been about 30 minutes, almost 30 minutes, so I'm gonna check on this oil. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and strain it now, and then we're going to melt the beeswax just the same way. All right, everybody, the wax is melting, but also the sun is going down, so I'm gonna turn my harsh kitchen light on. All right, I'm gonna turn this off, and we're going to simply combine the melted wax, melted beeswax, with the almond oil. Right here. This is the beeswax and the almond oil with the herbs that are infused. And now is the time that you would add the essential oils. So I'm just gonna add a few drops of this. Re-stir everything. Make sure the essential oils are nice and mixed in. All right, and now we let it sit and cool, and then we will be able to